And Brandon, it's time to move on into our last topic before we make our picks this week for week numero seis, I believe.
Six.
Numero seis, I believe, is the right number for Spanish, but 6 is the right number for English in the NFL. And what we are going to do is we did this last year. I want to see what week of the season it will be. And I know you guys love when I do this live on the podcast and look things up that Ricky probably should have looked up before that he just didn't think of. So we did this segment for the Steelers and the Eagles last year. Oh, almost around the same time. We're almost doing it a month earlier than we did last year. We did it around November 9th last year. We're doing it in October this year. And we're taking two teams, the two undefeated teams in the NFL, and we're going to kind of discuss which one has a better chance to make the Super Bowl. So, Brandon, I will start with you. Your choices are the Los Angeles Rams, who sit at 5-0, or the Kansas City Chiefs, who sit at 5-0. You can talk about whichever one you want to talk about, but basically the question is, who has the better chance to reach Super Bowl LIII, the Rams or the Chiefs?
I'll tell you what, I really want to be able to, and I know you wouldn't let me, because that would be the easy.
Say both.
I want to say both. I totally want to say both.
If you had to pick one, though.
If I had to pick one today, I would probably say the Los Angeles Rams.
Oh, okay.
And the reason why I say the Los Angeles Rams is because I think that they have a little bit more consistency. And I know that if you look at the game that they played against Seattle, where a lot of people believed, oh my gosh, these meetings with the Rams in Seattle the last couple of years have been just dreadful because it's all Rams and no Seattle. Well, that certainly changed on Sunday because the Rams defense, while yes, a little banged up in the secondary, no Aqib Talib right now, Marcus Peters is still there, and they still have a number of other guys as well. They traded for like 10 of them in the offseason. But they didn't show up. They didn't play well. The Rams got gashed pretty good on the ground as well by Seattle. And then reversely, you look at the Kansas City game, and everyone thought that was going to be a really close game with Jacksonville, and the Chiefs absolutely blow them out 30-14, where the Rams won 33-31. But I think that when and the Chiefs defense made so many plays after a season of not making plays at all defensively. But my point is that I think that moving forward, you can't just take one game. You have to look at the body of work, as the College Football Committee would tell us every year. And when you look at that entire season, I think we're going to see that the Los Angeles Rams were a little bit more balanced in a number of different areas than the Kansas City Chiefs. And if that may be for nothing else than defense, well, then so be it. But the Los Angeles Rams, you look at them, passing the football, they have so many targets. You've got, and now I know they lost 2 of them yesterday in the game due to concussions, but you've got Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Brandon Cooks, a number of tight ends who no one knows, and then Todd Gurley, of course. And then in the running game, you've got Todd Gurley. You have a great quarterback in Jared Goff. This guy, I mean, if you would have talked about this guy 2 years ago, people would have been like, ooh, yeah, I don't think it's going to work. But he came onto the scene last year. He played really well. Sean McVay has been a great head coach. They've been a great pairing. And what Jared Goff really is as a quarterback is he's smart. He's a smart quarterback, and with what he dealt with last season during the year, a really strong year for the Rams, and then being able to go to the playoffs, they got a taste. They didn't get to the point that they wanted to be in. Now they're back this year. They're continuing just on that same line. And this defense, take away the Seattle game, they've been really good. They have really been good. And they've been consistent though too. That's the thing, is they've held a lot of teams down. They've been consistent. The way they played against the Arizona Cardinals, shut them out. They played really well against the Chargers, who a lot of people were high on the Chargers coming into this year. They played well against them. It's been a really good showing so far for this Los Angeles Rams team. And if you look at, certainly by their scoring, last year in 2017, they were scoring about 28.9 points per game. Through what is it, 5 games here this year, they've scored 34.6 points per game. This is a team that has too many things going right for them. I don't see why they wouldn't be able to get in to the playoffs and certainly have a good run for the Super Bowl. And while I do love the Kansas City Chiefs, I think it's for that third factor, that defense. While I mentioned the Chiefs had a great defensive game, I think the Rams will have more consistent games defensively throughout the year.
You know what I find funny? Which is Monday night, November 19th. I believe this is a Mexico City game.
It is. It's going to be a great game. Can't wait.
We could see undefeated versus undefeated.
We could.
The first question I'll ask, just quickly, yes or no, or just a quick answer before I get into my thoughts. Do either of these teams finish the regular season undefeated? If not, which one is the longest undefeated? Like, which one lasts longer into the season as an undefeated team?
I don't think that either one of them lasts the season as an undefeated team. I think the Rams will last longer.
Here's the thing that I'm looking at, and I think both teams are going to make the playoffs. Duh. However, when I think which one has the better chance to reach the Super Bowl, I think this answer is easy. It's the Rams. And the reason why has nothing to do with Patrick Mahomes, has nothing to do with how the Chiefs have played so far. It has to do with two simple things in my mind. One of them we're going to get what people are going to think is sort of an answer this week because the Chiefs do play the Patriots. So if Mahomes beats Tom Brady, people are going to go, Mahomes is better than Tom Brady. Not everyone, but you know there's people out there that'll be like, the king is dead. Yeah, guess what happens when you play Tom Brady again? Just ask the Bengals when they beat him in the regular season, and then they had to play him again. He came out angry and beat them on Monday night. Same thing happened to the Chiefs, not the last time they met up, but in the past as well. Tom Brady usually gets angry when he plays you a second time after you beat him. But that's simple. Like, you look at the AFC, yeah, I know the NFC is tough, but like, look at this year so far. Some of the teams we were talking about at the beginning of the season that we're not talking about now. In the AFC, yes, the Chiefs beat the Jaguars. So it's like, all right, I can't really say against you like, oh, well, you got to go up against the Jaguars because they won.
And here's the thing with that, it's a good Jaguar defense.
Yeah.
While, yes, their offense may be but their defense is proven to be good. We know that. Here's
the only grain of salt I'm going to say about that game, and I'm not going to say it as an excuse, but I do think it plays into that matchup. Although you'll probably be the higher-seeded team than Jacksonville, if you are not, how different is that game when you're not in Arrowhead? Because Arrowhead, like, playing in Arrowhead is kind of like, oh, cool, we got our guys behind us. It's one of the loudest stadiums in all of the NFL. It'd be a little bit different. I'm only saying a little bit different of a game in Jacksonville. Probably wouldn't be, like, I'm not saying change the outcome for sure, but it would be different. Run up against New England. Like, that to me is the big one. The Steelers have been down, but it's like, to me, the Patriots are the one team for the Chiefs that it's like, okay, when you're looking team to team, but also you look at Andy Reid, and to me, he is the biggest one that makes me not confident in a Chiefs team in the playoffs because in the last 10 years, and this goes back to his days in Philly, do you know how many playoff wins he has in the last 10 years?
Not a lot.
One, and that was in 2015, the 2015-2016 season. With the Chiefs, he's 1-4 in the playoffs. Should have beat the Titans this past year.
Should have so Titans, badly. It was so sad.
I mean, Marcus Mariota caught a pass by himself and ran it in for a touchdown. Like, that to me is with the Chiefs, and it's not I'm hoping it happens. It's like I'm just waiting for it to happen. I am just waiting for this team to implode because of who they have at the head. There's going to be one game in the playoffs where he forgets how the clock works, or he forgets to, oh, wait, we've got a running back that I could run the ball with, which can happen when you got a guy like Patrick Mahomes that can bomb it with his right or flick it with his left. Oh, we don't need a running back, right? Oh, wait, we do need a running back. I forgot we had one. Whereas I look at the Rams, and not only like, yeah, I know they lost last year, so it's like Sean McVay does not have a playoff win to his record either, but I feel more confident in the Rams after that game against. They probably could have beat the Falcons last year because that game was close up until the very, very end where they lost by 13. But look at the NFC teams that we were talking about that we're not talking about anymore. The Eagles are kind of down and out right now. If the Redskins get into the playoffs, I'm going to say Alex Smith has playoff experience, but Jay Gruden and that Redskin team do not have playoff experience. Probably the only two that I can think of that have playoff, 3 people on that team that have significant playoff experience. Your quarterback, your running back, and your cornerback. Josh Norman, Alex Smith, and Adrian Peterson are the only 3 that have significant playoff experience on that team. You look at the Bears, another team that when we get to the playoffs, Mitch will have never been to the playoffs. This Khalil Mack will have never been to the playoffs. That whole team is basically, even head coach, never been to the playoffs. We'll see what happens with that team when they get there. I know Allen Robinson was there last year, but he was injured last year. But that whole team is fresh. If they're a division winner, how are they going to look in the playoffs? The Saints are probably like the NFC South is probably the only one where it's like, okay, we knew the Saints would be good. The Panthers have playoff experience. You've got that. But the Falcons, we're calling their season over with. And then you've got the West where it looks like the Rams might be the only team out of the West to get into the playoffs. So like I look at it and I go, the road for the Rams might be easier, and they might be going up against more inexperienced teams minus like the Saints. The thing with the Saints is, did you learn about your mistake from last year? So that's the big reason why I would go with the Rams is they don't have to meet Tom Brady in their side of the playoffs. And all the teams we were talking about in the beginning, they're not leading their divisions right now. And I know there's a ton of time between now and the end of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's still a whole lot of football to be played, and you know, we're just a quarter of the way through. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be things that we're talking about in the middle of the season that we're not talking about right now, and there will certainly be
injuries
that we're talking about at the end of the season that we aren't talking about right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, if there's a huge injury for either one of these teams, that could put them out. I mean, it's that simple. I mean, look at where the Green Bay Packers are right now at 2-2-1. I'm correct in saying that, right? 2-2-1 is their record.
Same as the Vikings.
The Green Bay Packers with a healthy Aaron Rodgers and healthy wide receivers all across the board, probably not 2-2-1. The Minnesota Vikings, you know, kind of a surprise. You know, this was supposed to be a team that lost 3 games all of last season. 2-2-1. You went out and got Mr. $90 million man. You didn't get him to be 2-2-1. So
he has been phenomenal, though. It's not all his fault, though. That's all I'm going to say.
Of course. I knew Ricky would say that.
It's not all his fault, but he's been phenomenal.
The Vikings apologist.
He's been phenomenal.
But they are 2-2-1.
It's the defense.
Yeah, but do you put it on the defense at the end of the day, or do you put it on the quarterback? This is not the discussion. This is not the discussion, so go away.
It's our past defense.
But again, so I mean, we're looking at 2 teams already that were coming into the season.
Yeah.
A lot of people Tony Romo believed the Packers would be 13-3.
Tony
Romo is almost right on everything he says. So
Nostradamus.
To not be 13-3, it's like, Tony, are you normal now? Are you a human like all the rest of us?
Are you only a mere mortal?
But the Vikings too. I mean, I know you kind of already went through that a little bit, but you just kind of said with the Bears. But these are teams already that the Rams may have had to deal with when they got to the playoffs, and possibly both of those teams, they might not be there if they don't turn their seasons around right now. Right now, things aren't looking good for the Packers. Right now, the Vikings are looking on a little bit of an upward trajectory because they just won their game, but it's for those 2 teams, a Vikings playoff team from last year that was they were really short of the Super Bowl within their last game that they played, but they were 1 game shy of the Super Bowl. They don't look like it. there's no one else coming out of the West. The Cardinals are crap. The San Francisco 49ers, with every single one of their injuries, they lose a guy I think every half they lose a guy.
They cough and they lose a guy.
They're done. The Seattle Seahawks, I don't know if Russell Wilson will be able to do it all himself and rally the offense with an injured and very minimal defense, if he'll be able to do anything over there. Then you look over into the East and you go, what a hot mess. And you look at it, if it's Washington that ends up coming out of there, it doesn't even scare me. It doesn't even scare me. I am a huge fan of Alex Smith, but it doesn't scare me.
I'm going to put it this way.
The only one that would, before you say anything, is if New Orleans took the South. They're the only one that would, because they have the absolutely experienced veteran who can do it all in Drew Brees, and he can lead that team wherever.
I'm going to put it this way. Both the Chiefs and the Rams there are two teams on each side that I believe that Chief fans and Ram fans should be afraid of, and I'm going to put it in this sense. The number one team that each should be afraid of, the Chiefs should be afraid of playoff Tom Brady, playoff Patriots, and the Rams should be afraid of the Saints. Those are the two tops, where it's like, if you play them in an NFC championship game, all right, this is not going to be an easy ride to the Super Bowl. There's a second tier that has a team underneath. For the Chiefs, and it's funny because with both of these teams, they've already played the Chiefs and the Rams, and the Chiefs and the Rams have already beat them. But in a playoff, anything can happen. Could be a different situation. For the Chiefs, it's the Jaguars. In a playoff situation, maybe it's in Jacksonville, maybe it's in Kansas City, in a playoff atmosphere, could be completely different than how these two teams met in Arrowhead. For the Rams, it is the Minnesota Vikings. Other than that, there are no, I look at every other team for both sides. For both sides.
You're saying that for the Rams, it's the Minnesota Vikings that what?
That are they are like what I said the Jaguars are to the Chiefs, where it's like, I'm not super worried about you because we beat you before, but getting a second look at a team in the playoffs and in anything can happen kind of NFL playoff, they're ones where it's like, I'm not worried that we'll lose for sure, but it's like, I might have a little bit of nerves if the game isn't going exactly how it did before.
But you have to be worried. I'm not even going to say, I would be one of those people who would say, while I'm saying it personally, the team that you would have to probably watch out for would probably be a team like a Washington Redskins. Everyone writes them off. No one believes they'll be able to do anything. No one should be scared of them. And they end up being the team that, you should have been scared of them.
Let me put it this way.
Because it's kind of like Jacksonville last year. They got into the playoffs and everyone went, who cares? They had a nice regular season.
Can I go next level? Can I go next level on you and finish it?
Yeah.
Then you've got the Redskins and the Bears for the NFC. The AFC, you got the Bengals and the Titans. Bears and Bengals, I'm putting in one basket. I'm not afraid of it at all. These teams are going to look great in the regular season, shit the bed in the playoffs. And I will say that with all due confidence. And I just pissed off two fan bases that I have pissed off before. Bear fans will tell me I'm a stupid Viking fan. What do I know? But that's what I believe. The Bears, when they get to the playoffs, will crap the bed. The Bengals will crap the bed in the playoffs. It's what they do. They're the Bungles. The Titans and the Redskins, I put into a separate category of, all right, you're confident you can beat them, but there's a chance. The Titans have already proven this. Put them up against the Redskins, or put them up against the Chiefs in Arrowhead, they can beat you. Redskins could be that same situation where it's like, hey, if you don't take us seriously, we can come out and shock the world and beat you, because they got the quarterback to do it. They got the run game to do it.
The Titans?
The Redskins. They got Alex Smith. They got Adrian Peterson.
I thought you were saying the Titans, because the Titans have probably the worst running game this year. I'm talking about
the Redskins have the quarterback and running back and the experience on defense.
They do. Washington does.
Norman to maybe upset a Rams. Would it happen? Probably not. But those would where I would put each of those teams in the bag.
And that's why I kind of, yes, you can bring up all your typical, the Packers, if you play the Vikings, if you play this person. That.
The Saints and the Patriots, though, are the big ones. Those are the top two.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And you know what is going to be the funniest part is when we're sitting here in about 5 weeks and we're going, well, all of that is out the window.
Even in like 2 weeks.
So, but it is. It's those teams that you aren't necessarily looking at, and that the Redskins could very well be, because the Giants, I think we can say with complete certainty the New York Football Giants at 1-4 right now as it stands
are done.
They have no chance. So they're out. The Cowboys, they're floundering. They do what they do. They flounder. They mess around. They win a couple of big games.
They lose fire the ginger, but they won't fire the ginger.
They lose a big game, and then they end up being right around there. And then you've got the Washington Redskins, who are going to be that quiet team. They're going to quietly just get their job done, do what they do, and move along. And then who's the other team over there?
The Eagles.
The Eagles, yes.
The Eagles.
Man, they need help. The Eagles need help. Just read on ESPN that Ajayi out ACL.
Well, he's on Dave's fantasy team, so we knew that was going to happen.
So,
for those of you who don't know, Dave in our fantasy league, anyone he drafts gets injured. So that's the inside joke.
And they need a lot of help. They're in a bad place. I think it's again, it's those teams that they just take care of their business and they don't do it flashy, and that is the absolute description of the Washington Redskins. There's not going to be anything flashy about them, but they're going to take care of business. And it's going to be an interesting game tonight as we're recording. The game tonight, it's Washington and it's the New Orleans Saints. This is going to be, I think, probably a really good game. The Saints...
It's very important for the Redskins.
It is. I think the Saints have the firepower to do it, but do the Redskins have enough defensively, and will they have enough on the return side offensively to be able to do that? Because while Alex Smith is a good quarterback, does he have enough weapons? Adrian Peterson, good on the ground. He's had a couple of really big games. He's had a couple of clunkers. What does he come out with tonight? So, but getting back to it, at the end of the day, Ricky, I would love to see both the Rams and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl against each other. Will it happen? Most likely not, but I would love to see it.
I was going to ask you to end it. Put a percentage on it. What percentage do we see Rams Chiefs in the Super Bowl?
Percentage of Rams Chiefs in the Super Bowl?
40% chance we see that matchup.
I was going to say 30 to 40% chance that we see that. Not real high.
I'm going to go 25.
One of them, if not both, will lose. I just have the feeling one of them will, because whenever you see teams like this, they have the best offense. Yeah, they have the big plays, all this stuff. Oh, they didn't get in. Oh. But that happens so often. So it's going to be interesting. Both of these teams are really good. Both of these teams should be around for at least the regular season. We'll see what ends up happening.
I'm going to say 25% because of two reasons. The first one is easy, and I'm just going to get it out of the way. Andy Reid in the playoffs. We don't need to discuss it anymore. Number two, and this is the more important reason, I will put, if you asked me to put my money on the Rams and the Chiefs or the field. So either both of these teams make it or one of the other teams upsetting them, that's where I'd put my money. And it's more so on the Chiefs. If you ask me Chiefs of the field, I would put my money on the field in the AFC. And to me, NFC, AFC, it's just one, not both, but either a Patriots, a Jaguars, a Vikings, a Saints. One of those four teams is going to upset either the Rams or the Chiefs. I'm looking mainly at the Jags and the Patriots in the playoffs. One of those teams is going to upset the Chiefs in the playoffs, and that will keep us from a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl. I believe the Super Bowl this year is in Atlanta. Is that what the Super Bowl is this year?
I believe you're right.
But that's what I'm thinking with it and why I put a little bit lower than that 30. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below in that comment section. Who has the better chance to reach the Super Bowl, the Rams or the Chiefs? And what are you thinking about? Of course, only 5 games into this NFL, or 5 games after. 5 games into this NFL season. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section.